Welcome back to Creative Therapy Umbrella. We have a really fun topic today about teen slang and using it therapeutically in session because there's a lot of really cool verbiage out there that works really well in therapy. So let's dig into it, shall we? So I'm definitely not embarrassed to say that I have to frequently look up teen slang to figure out what it means. A lot of times I'll just say, like, oh gosh, I have no idea what that one means, or that one's totally new to me. What's that about? But I think there was a time where I was up on them more because they were actually like they were references that happened in my life, and now they're definitely not. As I sit here trying to record this podcast within my daughter's nap time, after slamming a funfetti cupcake. But so yeah, no, I do not know most of the slang that is going around. I cannot stay on top of it, and I have a really hard time doing it. However, I know that kids really dig it, and they probably hear my slang and think it's so old and whatnot. But um, I do think there is something about, I think there's something really important, I guess maybe linguistically, I think a lot about this of matching, and maybe this is attunement as well, but in matching with the kids, teens, and tweens that you are engaging with, and not in a way that you are trying to be cool, but in a way where you are demonstrating the importance of how you see and you hear them and how they are, just as they are as a human, is important to you enough so that you will pick up a slang term and throw it in a conversation, whether that is sarcastically, which I think is still really cool, or if you're just straight up responding to it and just using it in session. So I mean, I've seriously done this and said, like, oh, you totally rizz them up. Did I use it right? Like, I'll openly, break the fourth wall and be like, oh, did I use that reference right? For some of my teens that I work with, because they find it funny. And so, but at the same time, I think that showing that you care and you know what it means, or you're bringing it in, there is some sort of attunement. I feel like I would put it under the attunement category in therapy. So I wanted to uh, come on here, and I got inspired to do this because someone had written on one of my Instagram posts. I had an Instagram post that talked about how normal teen therapy, just a bunch of 10 minutes of silence and then a skibbity toilet reference and then a breakthrough because that's what I feel like a lot of times happens in tween or teen therapy. And someone was like, commented, and they were like, how do you stay up on, how do you learn these things? And I had responded, and I think a few people did, that really it's asking, if a teen says something, then you might ask where that reference is from, or something along those lines, where you're engaging with it in session if something comes up, such as a reference or a slang term. But this actually made me think of, like, wow, I should actually just make like some references for I don't want to say us old people, but it's probably us whoever is listening. We're just maybe a little bit more on the outs. And if you are on the ins, write in and tell me if I've got these right. Okay, then you can please grade me on, am I using these reference well enough? Can you let me cook on this a little more? I just used one. So okay. So some ones that I think have been around a little bit longer than some others, but rizz, which is actually short for charisma, is one that is kind of talking about how someone with rizz has like a smooth or a charming demeanor. So this might be like talking with other person, or I've heard this used as like kind of like getting someone's goat. Oh, you're rizzing that person, in not only a way of you're talking with them and like getting them to be your friend, but you're also like um kind of like digging at them to kind of get them going. So I've heard this one in a couple different ones, but I think most often it's short for charisma. Uh, this one I really love, and I'm sorry to anyone from Ohio, but it's, I guess, Ohio is a reference to describe something strange, bizarre, or offbeat. So that might sound like something like, oh, that fit is so Ohio, and fit is short for outfit. So like, oh, that fit is so Ohio. Like, I love it so, so much. A couple other ones. There's a couple that I find really applicable, especially into the therapy that I do. That's very like geek, gaming, media oriented. One of those being a winter arc. That I love this. I love that this is like a slang term right now, but really it's like a personal transformation period. So a character development arc or a character development phrase in some sort of storytelling capacity. Like I think of someone who, I think about this all the time. Anyone who walks into therapy is in their winter arc. Like you're in your phase where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna tune inwards. I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna, I'm gonna do some inner healing and inner work and warmth and all of this stuff. Like it really does kind of make me think of cold, being inside, reflection, more dark hours, going through the darkness. There's so many metaphors that can come out of this. It's just such a hotbed, I think, of opportunities for um, continued therapeutic exploration. But so yeah, winter arc. And so we're going to go through these, and then I'm going to kind of talk about how we can use them a little bit more therapeutically. But I want to go through a couple first before we go through how to use them in therapy. It's giving is another one that I love so much. This is actually one that I feel like is very maybe defies the boundaries.
Welcome to Choose Your Own Adventure, a day in the life of a therapist. You're a therapist heading into the office at 9 a.m. You open the door, fire up your coffee, and are immediately met with your first decision of the day. Option A, you frantically dig for last week's intake form, mentally retrace whether you ever sent that questionnaire, try to push out 10 session reminders, and attempt to reschedule 4 clients using your mind's eye, because let's be honest, that beautiful planner that you bought, still blank. Or option B, you open your laptop, sip your delicious coffee, and see everything lined up like a dream. Intakes, done. Reminders, sent. Notes, teed up. And your crisp, clean calendar, just begging to be gently rescheduled, not wrestled with. If you choose B, you're using simple practice. If you choose A, we love you and you deserve better. Make the switch, your future self will high-five you right after they finish their notes on time. Simple practice, your day simplified. Simple Practice is offering a 7-day free trial, then 70% off for 4 months, plus a free 30 days of AI Note Taker. That's right, if you sign up in the month of July, you'll get a 7-day free trial, then 70% off for 4 months, plus a free 30 days of AI Note Taker. Sign up today at the link in our show notes or head to creativetherapyumbrella.com/simplepractice. Again, you can check this out in our show notes or head to creativetherapyumbrella.com/simplepractice.
Actually, sometimes has difficulty managing my thoughts and getting them out of my mouth. I can do it here when I'm by myself and talking to my microphone, but when I'm with other people I have a much harder time getting the words out. So sometimes having these back pocket phrases that I've practiced makes it so much easier to use them when things are a little bit more difficult, like when you're just processing more information. One of the ones that I will share that I think is really fun is the like cooking reference of like let them cook. You might say this to like, ooh, you're thinking about something. Like you go ahead and cook a bit. I'm here when you're ready to talk about it. So like letting them cook, let them cook, let it cook, whatever it is, cooking, thinking about it, marinating. I always say marinate in that, like, oh, I gotta let my creativity marinate on that one, or let my thought marinate. But really, essentially, it's kind of the same thing. The it's giving is, again, so many ways we could use this in session. Of I'll do this a lot when I'm trying to like reflect emotions, or even if it's like gain clarity. I'll say like, is this giving is this giving confidence vibes, or is this giving like I don't know what I'm doing kind of a vibe? And so like sometimes I'll have a client, I'll throw that back at a client for them to like confirm what they might be feeling or the content of the situation. And then I mean, right from there, it's like, oh, well, tell me more about that. Don't say less. Like, then you can just like keep going into more deep diving into whatever it is that you're doing. Hits different. Gosh, I hear that one and I feel like that's one that's been around for a bit. I do that one all the time. I'll say that one when a lot of times I'll use that in a confused context. Um in that I feel like a lot of times when kids feel confused, they usually I'll often ask like, oof, what are you feeling about that one? And it's a lot of I don't knows. So in reflecting I don't know, instead of just reflecting back to a kid like, you don't really know, I'll say like, oh yeah, that one just hits different, because I think it's a really great way of saying you're confused and reflecting that like, hey, I hear you, but it's a different way of saying it back. But it's also confirming that like, oof, yeah, it just hits different. You're not sure what that is. So I really, really, really like that one for a validating experience around anything confusing. So again, winter arc. Sounds like you're in a bit of a winter arc, or it sounds like your friends in a winter arc, aren't they? They're like going through their transformation phase. In a personal thing, it sounds like you're in your winter arc. What do you think the end of this movie is going to look like? If this is if this is your main character arc, what happens next? What happens in the next season? And again, you can get so creative. I'll pull in soundtracks. You can pull out comic books or, storyboards and stuff like that. Again, I have a lot of these kinds of things that I am thinking. I don't just like think them. They're because I make a lot of these materials. Like I have comic board strips and I have storyboards at the ready. Like I have all of these visuals made in my, and it's part of my resource library. So, which is just like tons and tons of visuals. So if that's something you're interested in, check more out on our website. And so it makes stuff like this really easy because I kind of have all of these back pocket things hanging out in that resource library of like, oh, cool, comic strips, got them, no problem. Let's winter arc this. So if that's helpful, that's there, something we do too and offer here at Creative Therapy Umbrella. Um, and I think another one that can be really fun with the rent free is if a kiddo is perseverating on something, or if something like really embarrassing happened, or if they're really anxious about something, then I will definitely go to like, oof, that's like it's like living rent free in your brain, isn't it? And it will be, again, it's a validating on different levels. It's validating in that like I hear you and I see you and I know it's important to you, and you've said rent free to me before and I heard it, and I'm going to say it back to you because I care about you and I'm going to attune to you. And then it's also a really phenomenal way to reflect feelings, actions, behaviors, all of these different things. So again, there's too many to list. I'll probably have to do an episode like this, like every quarter, to keep up with all of the slang terms. So here's just another couple of ones I'm going to throw out there again. Feel free to cook. What's been on your mind lately? That's my doggo barking. If you can't hear her, maybe it's not too loud. But Mika. Um, Another one is yeah, you're in your main character era. Maybe you're even in your winter arc. What's going on? What's the next chapter look like? What do you think's going to happen? And then again, that emotion, oof, it's different. Man, that's a hard one to put your finger on. Can we lean into that? Can we get creative? Or I'll often say, can we get playful with that? What would that look like in the sand tray? Or if you were going to draw that, what would that look like? Or if that was a song, do you think we could find a song to match that emotion? So I always like to get playful with that. So yeah, these are just some fun cool slang ways to encourage your maybe quiet or really fun, oh so sweet, and sometimes harder to talk with teens or tweens to open up and gather some of the intel on what is cool to say. So I hope this was helpful. This was a really fun little episode to do. Again, feel free to hop on our newsletter. We put stuff like this out. We're doing this more now that we're kind of getting back on our feet. Let us know what you're looking for. We'd love to hear more. We'd love to hear from you, ideas. Follow us on Instagram, leave a rating or review, whatever it is, we want to hear from you. So at the end of the day, I hope things are going well, and as always, be creative.